right, so we are going live on YouTube, already live here on TikTok. Let me make sure I am recording for today. You please stop going crazy. Thank you. All right, let's record. All right, and we are on for Tesla Tuesdays, and we'll be getting a better camera. I know I look. This looks like my computer makes me look like I'm using a 1980s camera. You take a sip, and I already got someone hanging out in the room. So let me start off with yeah. So this is a Bright Futures podcast, number two. This is Tesla Tuesdays. Yesterday we did Moving Forward Monday. We talked about politics. Today we're going to be talking about Tesla, one of my favorite topics I've been talking about since 2000. 2013, 2000, yeah, I guess 2013 is when I started with Solar City. And but before I get into that, let me just talk about Bright Futures and the Bright Futures podcast. The mission with Bright Futures is, to help create a world of abundance. I talk about this every time, and create a world of abundance for all humankind. And that might sound like an aspiration for right now, one guy sitting in front of his computer, talking to one person right now. But all things start small and build from there, and the snowball effect will happen. So, my name is Matthew Washington. I have a degree at Rutgers University. I have a degree in economics and philosophy. Since it's Tesla Tuesday, I'll do some of my Tesla background. I started with Solar City back in 2013, and the way I found Tesla and Elon Musk is I was just trying to find something to do as far as like a career path. And I watched a TED talk. Actually, to tell the whole story, I originally was watching 60 Minutes, I think right after the football game. And I was watching 60 Minutes, and they were talking to this person, Craig Venter. And I love science. We do Philosophy Fridays, which I'm excited to talk about this week. We're going to talk about are we living in a black hole? Is the topic for Philosophy Fridays on Friday. But I was watching Craig Venter, and Craig Venter he was getting interviewed on 60 Minutes, and the interview was about he was actually changing the genetic code of algae so that their waste product was oil. It was really cool, right? And so I was like, that sounds really interesting. So let me watch that. And so I started watching that on 60 Minutes, and part of the interview, he was driving around a Tesla. This is back in 2013. There was no Model 3. There was no Tesla. Elon wasn't the richest person in the world. There was no SpaceX rockets or anything like that. But he was in his Tesla, was in a Model S, and he was just kept raving about the car. Like he kept talking about the car so much. And I'm like, dude, why are you talking about your car? Because it was an electric car and it was such a big deal at the time. And I was like, let's talk about, these algae that you change their genetic code, right? That's kind of cool. But he just kept raving about the car. And so I said, well, let me look up who makes this car, this Tesla car. And let me change my lighting here a little bit. And it was Elon Musk. And so I started looking up Elon Musk. I saw a TED talk with Elon Musk back in 2013, and he said some things that I was just aligned with me. One of the things that he said was, he's like, we're conducting the stupidest whatchamacallit. We're conducting the dumbest experiment in human history, where we're trying to see how much carbon can we release into the atmosphere and see if it actually does anything. you know, and and uh and one of the things also he said, you like forget about like if you whether you believe in climate change or you don't believe in climate. I don't understand how people don't believe in climate change. Like the climate is changing. You can maybe say humans aren't affecting it or not, but the point being, he said, whether or not you believe in climate change, he said, if you want to stop all these world wars, well, where's all their money come from? The money comes from oil. So let's get people off of oil and gasoline, and And he's like, and eventually we're going to run out of oil. Like, we're going to run out of oil. We're going to run out of gas. We're going to run out of fossil fuels eventually. Now, whether that happens 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years now, whenever it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if we've designed our entire infrastructure based on, on everything, based upon all the electricity that we make, all the cars that we do, everything, if we based it all on this energy source that is not renewable, then eventually we're going to have a problem, and we shouldn't probably wait until it becomes a problem to start solving the problem, right? I was listening to this TED talk, and I was like, this sounds like something I want to be involved in. This sounds like something that resonates with me, made sense. And so I went and looked, and I said, I want to work for Tesla. So at the time, the only place I could work for Tesla was they had a store in the Roosevelt Field Mall, which is like a whole county away from me, and a long drive, and it wasn't really good pay. And I was like, ugh, I can't do that. And then I discovered Solar City, and he also was talking about Solar City, and um, their mission to get people to switch over to solar energy, and that was how I got involved in solar energy. I went and I interviewed with Solar City. It was actually one of these days I'll tell the story about that interview, but it was like I knew more about. I was like, I dissected everything. I went down into like I understood everything about solar, and I went into the interview, and I had already told two of my friends, to go solar even before I even got the job, and I was just super excited about it, and I ended up getting the job. And then I worked for Solar City for a good amount of time, and we worked in conjunction with Tesla. And then what happened was Tesla started coming out with the batteries. I think this was in the Powerwall ones. Right now we're on Powerwall 3, but that was probably around 2016, 2017. And the Powerwalls would only back up like 4 switches on your at a house, and so but it was very small. It was just the beginning of it, and then the Powerwall 2 came out, and now we're at the Powerwall 3. But it was weird at the time that we couldn't sell the Tesla Powerwalls because Elon Musk was on the boards of both companies. He was on the board of Tesla, and he was on the board of Solar City, and it was like collusion. And so he ended up having Tesla buy Solar City. And Elon, there are things I love about Elon, and there's things I don't agree with Elon. I end up defending Elon most of the time, but there's things I don't agree with. And one of the things that I don't agree with was his tact of getting solar, because the cars are great. Tesla cars are amazing, and for I was one of the few people that actually was brought over. There was like they mass fired a lot of people. It was actually how they did it was a little interesting. It was like there's 2 conference calls. There's one at 2 and there's one at 3. And people and you got a message saying you'd be on the conference call at 2 o'clock. And we have group chats and everything. And people are like, are you getting on the call at 2? And they're like, no, it's at 3. No, no, mine's at 2. Mine said 2. It's definitely 2. And if you're on the 2 o'clock conference call, they said, you keep your job. And if you're on the 3 o'clock conference call, they were like, you're all being let go. So that was that's how it goes. There was a lot more people on the 3 o'clock call than the 2 o'clock call. So I was one of the people that made the 2 o'clock call, and they asked me to then work for Tesla, and I was working in the store again. And this was right around 2018 when the whatchamacallit, when the Model 3, what was it called? Production hell was going on, and the company was like in a lot of danger. We literally got emails saying, don't use, bring your own water bottles to work. And don't use the paper cups. Like they were like the paper cups are for coffee for customers only. Don't use paper cups. Like they were scrimping and scraping for every single penny. And in 2018, it was crazy, working there, because one of the things, like, I was a solar guy. I didn't really know much about cars. I learned, I loved Tesla. So I was really into the cars, and I knew a lot about the cars just for my own personal knowledge. But then they trained us, and then I was actually working. They were trying to, we were going through so much stuff in 2018, and they made me work in like a different store, and I was helping with deliveries because they were trying to deliver. They were trying to get to 5,000 deliveries a week, and we had to hit this quarter number, and it was like the company was literally on teetering, and so they took me out of the field for solar, and they basically had me helping deliver cars. Like people would literally come in, fill out the paperwork, and then all the cars were like two towns over in like a lot because they couldn't. It was in the Mall of America, or the Americana Mall in Manhasset. So like a really richy, fluty tooty place in on Long Island, right? And so people would come in. They would literally fill out their slips for their get their financing, and then there was like a jitney. It was like a little bus out there, like you were going to Disney World, and everyone we pile people into the jitney, and then we drive them to their car. And then my job was I would literally stand on the little jitney and give people like a tutorial on how to use their car, like how to use their fob at the time, and because it was all different, and how the door handles came out, and how you don't really turn the car on or off, and I would just give them like how to charge it. That was my job. So I was basically educational entertainment for these very rich people. Well, most of them were rich, but even the Model 3 at that time when it came out, it was like 45, $50,000, and a lot of people were getting their Model S's and X's as well. And so that was what I did, and it was pretty cool. And for a while there, with the solar, I was literally doing solar, and but I would take a car out and I would drive the car to the people's homes, and then I would do a solar consultation, and then I would take them on a test drive. It was awesome. I love that. That was like one of my favorite years of working ever. It was very rewarding. But Elon is not a fan of salespeople, and so he decided all salespeople should go. I didn't actually get fired from there. They asked me to do phone sales for the shingles that never happened. So like people go after Tesla and Elon, and there's reasons to go after them when they actually fail. I gotta take my glasses. No, I can't take my glasses off because that looks horrible. Um, there we go. But there's things that you can go after, like people that go after him for weird stuff, like the Yahtzee salute and whatnot. It's just ridiculous. But if you want to go after him for something, like the solar roof, what happened to that? Like that, and that would have been like a really cool thing. Drop the mic. That would have been a really cool thing, and but that was my job. My job was to try to sell solar roofs, and what was interesting is what they would do, and this is why I left the job because it wasn't something I wanted to do. But they would literally, people would go, and even if you wanted to get solar from Tesla right now, it's the same deal. You would go online, and and you go online, and then you put in your address, and it looks at the size of your roof, and then it gives you a quote. You tell how much energy you use, it gives you a quote. And the thing with the solar roof is the quote would just be based upon like the square footage and basically how much solar you needed, based upon the energy that you use. But then when they actually have to install it, it's glass. It's a glass roof. There's glass shingles. So they literally have to cut glass around all your vents, all your ridges and eaves, and usually the people getting these solar roofs were not people with just you know plain Jane flat roofs. There's just people with lots of corners and ornate roofs. And so the original quote would be like $80,000, and then they would come back once the engineers got a hold of it and said, "Oh, this how much labor cost it was going to be," and it would be like I have to call people back and say, "Oh, your $80,000 job is really 176,000 or something like that." So yeah, I didn't want to. That was not my cup of tea, calling people and trying to upsell them 70 grand, 80 grand. We did have some cool customers. Ryan Reynolds was one of the cool customers. Rounder Rousey, I helped with that one as far as putting the solar roof on her house, but it just wasn't something that I wanted to do. So I ended up leaving there. I don't know how this went through a whole thing about me, but that's my background with Tesla. And I still do sell Tesla. I sell Tesla Powerwalls. I think they're amazing. I think really eventually, as the costs come down, that everyone should get a Tesla Powerwall as a battery backup to their home. But that's something that will come down the road. So that's my background with Tesla. But I've been investing in Tesla since 2013. Um, I've done hundreds of videos on TikTok. If you're on TikTok right now, I have lots and lots of videos about Tesla, and it's something that I literally spend a good. I used to spend 2 to 3 hours a day. Now I probably spend about 20 minutes to an hour every day, just doing some research and learning a little bit more about what they're doing, and yeah, so that's kind of how it goes. So back to so as I go into Tesla, I just want to talk about what I'm doing with Bright Futures and why we talk about this stuff. And because again, I talked about being in an age of abundance, and what Tesla is doing is really trying to get people to have to this abundance, to say, look, we can have computers with solar energy, with with robots, with AI, and with self-driving cars like this. We can take people away from, we can eliminate work, we can eliminate this stuff, and it's going to change everything as far as we go. And people, because we've been in such a society where we've grown, we've been doing the same things for a couple of 100 years, couple of decades, more than decades. What's 100 years? An eon? I always thought an eon is 1,000 years. Centuries. There you go. For a number of centuries, we've been in this work for money and jobs, and you need to do all this stuff, and people act like money, like if money went away, like it's impossible. Well, guess what? Humanity has been around a lot longer than money. So there's money isn't something we need to have. It's something we invented as a convenience. And if it's no longer necessary, then it can go away. And when we talk about abundance, I say this every podcast, but and I'm going to say it everyone. What the universe provides everything that we need. Everything that we need. What do humans need the most? Air, right? That's the first thing. We can't go more than 3 or 4 minutes without air, and we have a planet full of air. It's everywhere, right? And so no one's like, oh, you're breathing too much. You're using too much air, right? I talk about, I have a degree in economics, and economics the um is the whatchamacallit, is the study of distribution of scarce resources. And so the economics of air is nothing. There is no economics of air, right? Because it's abundant. And then we talk about water, right? Like the fact that we pay for water, that I have like Poland Spring, give me a an endorsement, right? So, but the fact that we have bottled water and we pay for it is insane. It's ridiculous. Um, I didn't pay for this, by the way. Everbread, I just filled up the bottle. Uh, but yeah, it's insane. Water falls out of the sky. That's how much that we can drink. Like it literally comes through. Energy. The thing that we feel that we need. Energy is everywhere. Like the sun puts more energy on planet Earth in 1 hour than all of humanity uses in 20 in excuse me in 24 in a whole year, right? So all we gotta do is collect it. All we do is collect it. There's plenty of space. We have plenty of space. We'll have batteries, and this is what Tesla's working on. How can we get solar panels and batteries and collect all the energy and have it ready to go? We don't have to burn fossil fuels. I'm not saying anything bad about fossil fuels. It was what we needed to get to where we are now. But we don't need typewriters anymore, right? We don't need dial-up phones anymore. We don't need certain things. And the fossil fuels and burning fossil fuels is something that we do not need if we made a decision to transition, and we are transitioning slowly. I say, the mission statement of Tesla, is not like to be the world's largest. I read mission statements of companies, and it's like to become the most respected, largest car company in the world. That's not the mission statement, or whatever. To make the biggest, be the best in making whatever widget it is. Tesla's mission statement is to help transition the world to sustainable energy. That's their mission statement, right? And whether that's making cars, whether it's making batteries, like that's people don't get it. That's why when people are like, oh, it's a car company. I'm like, no, it isn't. Read their mission statement. Does it say cars anywhere? Does it say automobiles? Cars are just one of the things. If we could eliminate, if Tesla can make a teleporter where you just walk through it and you just boop and you pop up someplace else, they wouldn't make cars. They would make teleporters. That's the point. That's not their mission statement is not to make cars, but that's what is helping transition the world at this point because people are driving around in internal combustion cars burning fossil fuels. So it's like, well, we'll make a better one of those that people actually want to buy, but use electricity. And then they're also make batteries and they make energy and they make that's why they're making robots. Like people like, why are they getting into robots? Why are they getting into AI? Read their mission statement. Their mission statement is to help transition the world to sustainable energy. So then, so if you're gonna, robots are a way to get rid of work, which uses energy, which means if you have robots doing all that stuff, you don't need people to drive to work. You don't need people to do a lot of things, which we're going to talk about today and even more in the future. So that's how it goes. All the food you talk about abundance. Robot. I just watched a robot that was like picking apples at like a ridiculous speed. And people see these things like the robotics and they look at it and they go, we're again, our mindset is, I have to have a job. I need to make money so I can live. and the concept of let the robot do the work. And it's funny, on Philosophy Fridays, we're going to talk a lot about a little bit more with Alan Watts. And Alan Watts talked about this back in the 70s. Is like the machine. He's like the machine is what is needed. We need a machine. And people are like, well, how are you going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? The machine pays for it. The labor that you would have done, the machine now does that labor. And that's where the money comes from. Um, and then what you do is then you can pay, you can have universal basic, the transition is going to be to get rid of money altogether, but in the transition, you can have universal basic income. Universal basic income is you give people money, and you have to give people money because there won't be jobs. AI is going to take over for customer service jobs. It's going to take over robots and are going to take over doctoring. The Grok, actually, I should, maybe we'll do that next week. We'll watch the video on how fast Grok is growing, like the AI, the capabilities there. AI right now, Grok 4 can already um, get a perfect SAT score, no matter how, even if it's never seen the questions before, you can change the questions, it gets perfect. It also uh, passes, it gets A's in every discipline of graduate school, right? Without knowing that it's not like it's searching the internet to find the answers. It's literally understanding graduate level GRE tests and being able to answer questions that it's never seen before and reason them out. And it's already there. So Grok is already there. AI is there now. So it's just a matter of time. Like you just have to look. Someone told me once, if you want to predict the future, you should just study the present. Well, look at what's going on presently, and then say, well, what happens in 5 years from now? What happens in 3 years from now? 2 years? Like, how smart is this AI going to be? How far about the robotics? When I look at Tesla and their humanoid robot, it's like 3 years ago there was a guy dancing or a girl, I don't even know which, was dancing around on stage in a robot suit. And now 3 years later, they've got these robots, and they just did an event where the robots were serving food and they're walking around, and people were like, oh, poo-pooing it because they had somebody like the robot was talking, and they just had somebody in the background who was like answering the questions, and they're like, oh, they didn't tell us that they fooled us. Like, okay, they're not finished. Look at what it can do. Forget about like, oh, I was fooled. I thought it was a real I thought the robots were ready. They're not. But it was an event. It was called the iRobot event, and then he wanted to make it look like Westworld, and so that's what they did. So the robots are literally walking and actually handing stuff and doing like it, whether they were what do they called teleoperated or whatever. The robot still did it. Who cares? Like, no, there's not AI that can do it yet. So you got to look at so it went from someone dancing, someone dancing in a costume to now this thing that's interacting with people and being able to hand them drinks and and do all kinds of stuff. And now it can walk up steps and it can do like, what do you think it's going to be like in another 3 years? What, like, why? I don't understand why people will poo-poo everything. And it's not like we're talking about a guy who's never done anything. Like, go watch that stupid rocket come down and get caught by some metal chopsticks, and then sit there and then be like, oh, they're not gonna, oh, he's told us that, oh, they're gonna have self-driving cars. He's been saying this for years and it never happened. And it's literally driving around right now. Robo taxis and robocabs are literally driving around, but people will still poo-poo it. And it's like you're just gonna miss out on such a great opportunity. I'm gonna talk about the math in a little bit. I guess got so far off track. I get so passionate about this, and I kept wanting to talk about bright futures, but I get wrapped up in my passion for the product and why, and trying to open people's eyes towards what's happening. And it's such a great investment, to look at that and say, where am I going to put my money, and what's the future going to look like? And it's like, well, look, if you want to know the future, study the present. And that's what's going on. So anyway, as far as Bright Futures goes, we have a website. It's Bright Futures, Bright Future, not brightfutureadvocates.com. If you want to support, my goal is eventually, like, I sell solar panels right now and roofing and whatnot. If you're interested in roof or solar panels, you live in the Northeast, I can help you out. But my goal is to do this full time. My goal is I'm going to be doing this as much as I possibly can. And, my goal is to provide, entertainment, some inspiration, and invoke some positive change in the world. And obviously, I need to pay bills and whatnot, as far as that goes. So, but as far as that's ultimately, but I want to just be able to spend as much time doing this as possible. Right now, I do these at 10 o'clock because I got to get through my day, and then share with you. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit more. I've already been talking about Tesla, but let me dive into what I want to talk about. So as far as Tesla goes, and the reason why I'm spending, I invest money in it and I talk about this is, um, oh, hey, Rod, how's it going? So right now, so if you don't know what's going on, right now, in Austin, Texas, they are currently running um, robotaxi rides, right? Where people are actually paying to sit in a Tesla car with no driver. Now they do have a safety driver, like a person sitting in the passenger seat. They're not sitting in the driver's seat, they're just there. And Tesla is rolling this out very slowly, very carefully, right? And there's been some incidents of, like, people, and by when I say incidents, I don't mean accidents, I mean incidents. Like, oh, somebody said, oh, the car was driving in the wrong lane at one point. But if you look at these videos, like, it's in Austin, Texas, and this is 24 hours, and there's some crazy stuff. There's video. You know what? Let me write that down for next week. I'll show some videos. Videos of Austin, Texas robotaxi. But people got to watch this. They got to see it. Like, look at what's happening. And so what happened was Waymo has already been there. Now, let me explain the difference between what Waymo does. Waymo is also a self-driving car, right? And and Waymo, I think is backed by Google. And as far as what they've been doing is they have been working on self-driving cars. Now, if you watch the mainstream media, they are like, well, Waymo is way ahead. Waymo's been doing this for a while. They've been in San Francisco, they've been in Texas, in Austin. I think they're in one other place, maybe Los Angeles, if I'm correct, or no, Phoenix, and they're in Arizona. And they're like, oh, they've passed a million rides, and they're in the lead. And so what is the fundamental difference between Waymo, is they moving? No. Um, Between Waymo and Tesla is what Waymo is doing is they are taking like a tech driver, somebody who's driving like if you've ever seen the Google car, and they're going out and they're HD mapping an area, right? So they drive the car around and they have these high definition cameras that take video and pictures of where everything is, where every stop sign is, every pothole, every red light, every turn, every right, everything that there is. They take video of it, right? And then they program that into the car and say, okay, this is when you're going to be able to drive 50 feet, then you're going to be able to make a left or a right. And they have a map, or it's HD mapped. Now, the thing is, you can't HD map everywhere, right? This is not like Google Maps. This is like HD camera, like high definition stuff. So then what they do is they put LiDAR on the car. Now, what LiDAR does, LiDAR is it's laser radar, right? And it shoots out a laser and it sees if there's a kid in the road, if there's somebody in the road, blah, 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 then the car will recognize, not to run them over, right? So that is how that works. Now, the problem with that is the lidar. First of all, Waymo doesn't make cars, right? What they have to do is they have to buy cars from other companies, and then they have to put all this extra stuff on it. Cameras, the lidar, the ultrasounds. They have, so each Waymo car costs anywhere from, I'm going to say on the low end, 130,000 to probably about 150, $160,000 when you talk about the car and the equipment. So that's one thing. Uh, Second thing is they can't map everywhere. They can't map the entire world. Too much stuff changes, right? So what happens is, so they've been doing this in a certain area, but in order to expand their area, they have to A, buy more cars, right? And B, they have to then HD map a new area and then, and update it. And they have to keep updating all these things. So the ability to scale, to go from these little pockets of areas where they are to everywhere, the backwater of Oklahoma, like whatever, not saying Oklahoma, nothing about my Oklahoma people, right? But in order for them to scale, they're going to have to they're going to have to spend a lot of money. And even right now, even with no driver, well, that's too bright. Even with no driver, they're still charging the same amount as Uber and Lyft, right? Because they have to make their money back, right? So because the cars are so expensive, and they, the money that has to go into getting these things going is much higher. So what's the difference between that and what Tesla's doing? What Tesla is doing is Tesla doesn't have any lidar. They are teaching their cars to drive with AI, and they're using the same thing that we have. They're using cameras, these things that we have, and a neural net. Some people would say I don't have one in here, but uh, for those of you on the audio, that's my head. So uh so the so they're saying we're going to have a neural net and we're going to teach it how to drive. We're going to use AI and we're going to teach. And how are they going to learn how to drive? The same way you learned how to drive. You make some mistakes. You think you got to touch both pedals. You got to figure out things that are. And what they did is they just fed it all these miles of people driving, all because there's all these people with Tesla cars. There's 7 million Tesla cars already on the roads. So Tesla already thought about this. And so what they did is they set it up so that as people drive in their regular Tesla cars, it's feeding information to the AI so the AI can learn how to drive. That's what it's doing. And so now it's to the point where it pretty much knows how to drive. It's pretty good. It's probably like it's driving like a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, right? That's where it is right now, where it still makes mistakes. I think like right now up to this point, there's been, I think it's week 4 that the robo taxis have been driving around Austin, Texas. And since week 4, there's been a couple of people reported that it was in the wrong lane or it did something weird, whatever, just like a high school kid would do. and I think it's had one accident where it like scraped the bumper of a Toyota on the left, like it was trying to get out of a parallel parking spot, and it didn't leave enough space, and it made a little scratch. That's which humans do all the time, right? Go to New York, drive in New York, and see all the people with the bumper buddies that are sticking out because that's how they drive. They just bang into each other, and when they parallel park. So that is what is going on. All right, that's where they are now. If you haven't kept up with the news, so there was a Waymo geofencing. Now Tesla, by the way, they've made their cars so that they learned how to drive, but in Austin, they're like, okay, we're going to geofence an area the same way that Waymo is geofence. But Waymo is geofence because that is all the data that they have, because that's how the cars drive. Tesla was geofence because that's all, they don't want the car driving outside. They don't want the car going to San Antonio, Texas, or Houston. Yeah, it could, but they're being ultra conservative. So it's one where they need the geofencing, and the other one doesn't. The geofencing is keeping it inside of a certain area where Waymo couldn't go outside that area. Now, so what Tesla did is they extended, they quote unquote extended their their range, or their geofencing, and they extended it in the picture of the male human anatomy, right? So they made it bigger. They made a bigger area so that people can drive in a longer space. And then Waymo came out and they extended there. Now Tesla extended it after 3 weeks. Waymo has been there for 6 or 7 months, and they only extended it after after Tesla expanded their range. Now they've already started spotting cars in San Antonio. They've spotted Tesla cars, like doing tests in other places, and Elon has already tweeted out that he's back in the office 24/7, sleeping there, and blah blah blah, because I think it's going to be huge. And getting now to the main point that I want to get to, which is the over-the-air updates. So like right now, the robo taxis are Model Ys and Model 3s. I talked about Waymo being it's 130 to $160,000 car, 150, 100 and whatever. Teslas are, they make to buy a Tesla is like $40 to $50,000. To make the Tesla is less, right? So, probably anywhere between $25 to $35,000 to make that car. So if they wanted to just make robo taxis out of Model 3s and Model Ys, they could immediately. They could start doing that today. So they have a cheaper car ready to go, which is why they can scale more. Tesla, Waymo only has like 1,500 cars. There were already 6 to 7 million Tesla's driving around. And the point being is, now there is a thing about the hardware. They have to be hardware 4, not hardware 3. So if people want to use their car with unsupervised, because they're supervised right now, full self-driving, which means somebody you have to pay attention and you're responsible, which is what everybody kind of has when they have FSD in their Tesla. And then there's unsupervised. Unsupervised is what the robo taxis are doing. They're driving around and the unsupervised will be like, you could literally say, I'm going to go to grandma's house. She lives 3 states away. I'm going to fall asleep, and then I'll wake up and then the chime will go off when I'm there, right? You can watch a movie. You don't have to pay attention. That's what unsupervised is. Now, what's going to eventually happen is, when the regulation is cleared, and what Tesla's going to do, in my opinion, is they're going to keep expanding the robotaxi and expanding the robotaxi and expanding the robotaxi, and then they're going to be able to go to regulators in every part of every city and say, look, here's the data, here's how much safer it is, because humans have 2 cameras that we have to, if we want to look in different direction, I can't see what's going on behind. Well, I can because of the camera, but I can't see what's going on behind my head. And humans are bad drivers. Like we're bad at it, right? So I actually went back and I looked like how many fatalities, not just car accidents, how many fatalities happen. And since like the 1970s, it's I think the lowest I saw was something like 38,000 people dying, and I think the highest was like 56,000 people dying. driving cars like every year. So anywhere between 35 to like 50,000 people die every single year in car accidents. That's how bad we are at it. And you could even be a good driver, but somebody, some kid, because we just let people who are 17, 18, 19 years old drive cars, right? And as they learn how to do it, right? And sometimes they're distracted, sometimes they're driving fast, sometimes they got hormones going on, and they drive into the good drivers, right? So even then, you could be the best driver in the world and you can still die in a car accident, right? Um, but here's the thing: when Tesla's unsupervised, you're not going to have people. The number one reason people get into car accidents right now is distracted driving, right? Texting while driving, and not paying attention. The That doesn't happen. Somebody actually on one of my videos wrote, are you actually going to get into a robo taxi? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? I drive Lyft on like holidays and stuff to make some extra money. And I look at other people. When I come to a stoplight, I'll look at other people. You know how many people are on their phone and doing their hair and eating food and fixing their clothes and yelling at their kids and falling asleep. Like I've seen people like literally like dozing off at a red light. This is and these people are driving, 6, 7,000 pound machines at 50, 60, 70 miles, 80 miles an hour. And we allow this, right? It's going in 2 generations, they're going to be talking like if you're Gen Z right now, your grandkids are going to be talking to you and going, so tell me again, grandma, like they actually used to let people drive like they would like 17, 18 year like people like my age, they would let us get behind the wheel and drive. Wow, like that's crazy. What a time you lived in. That's what it's going to be like. Okay, because all the reasons why we get in accidents, 95% of them, the car doesn't care. The car not only has 2 cameras looking better, they've got 8 cameras in a Tesla looking all around all the time, every different place. And so all the cameras are looking everywhere. It's not falling asleep. It's not getting in a fight with its boyfriend and girlfriend and emotional. It's not getting tired because it's been driving for 15 hours, to try to get home. It didn't have a bad day at work. It's not getting drowsy in rush hour traffic. It's not doing any of that. It's not texting their friends. It's not drunk. None of that. Okay. Its only focus is driving and getting you home safely. So yeah, I'll trust that, right? And that's what's going to happen. And so now those Teslas are going to, the robo taxis are going to come, and then what's going to happen is it's going to get to a point where now Tesla says, all right, the regulators are going to say it's okay. The data is obviously better. There will still be car accidents, obviously, but it'll drop significantly. And then what Tesla's going to do is they're going to go, get on their computer, and overnight, 3 million cars are going to have um, unsupervised FSD, because Tesla is the only company. And I talk to people all the time, and I realize that most people don't know what's going on with Tesla. Why do you keep talking about them? Why are you investing so much in them? Because Tesla is the only company it's not a car company. They figured out how to do over-the-air updates. They make your cars better, right? So let me share my screen for those of you on in Bright Futures here. Let me see. I'm going to do my full screen. You're going to see the whole thing, whole kit and caboodle in the background, right? For those of you on TikTok, you can't see this, but go check out my YouTube channel, which is Bright Future Advocates. Excuse me, YouTube Bright Future Advocates. If you want to check out the YouTube channel, let's get rid of that. I just had Grok open. Where's Grok? Oh, I love Grok. I really do. It's good. I use it more than I use Google now. So let's talk about, so this is some of the, I asked Grok, over the last 5 years, what are some of the over the air updates? Right? Let me make myself a little bit bigger. Maybe not. There we go. Hey, at least you could see me. But okay, so here's 2000. Full self-driving beta initial rollout. Okay, Tesla began wider development of FSD beta, introducing features like traffic light and stop sign control, allowing vehicles to recognize and respond to traffic. So literally they just said, all right, what used to be autopilot when I was working with Tesla, the autopilot or the all it basically would do was would stay in your lane. If you're on a highway, you can only drive it on highways, and then it would keep speed, and it would also, if you wanted to change lanes, you could hit the blinker and it would change lanes for you, and that was all it did, right? So then they were like, let's roll out the full self-driving. Now it can see traffic lights and it can control stop signs, and now bam, like all of a sudden your car got better. Like imagine that. Like what car company has when has your Toyota gotten better? Okay, like for example, here performance enhancement is the next one here. A 5% boost, performance boost, was delivered to some vehicles, improving acceleration with firmware tweaks. So imagine that. Like imagine you buy a Toyota, right? Or I don't know, a Ford or an Audi. Does it ever just get better? Did you ever just get a 5% performance boost from nothing? Like for free? Do the mechanics, does the company ever call you and say, hey, not like, hey, we have a recall, bring the car in, but just, hey, you know what? Update your car overnight and now your car is faster. Congratulations. Like this is what you get with a Tesla, right? Sentry mode. Okay, navigate. I'm reading some of them. Navigation and UI improvements. Update includes better visualizations and rendering of traffic cones, and refined navigation with speed limit sign recognition. Okay, so now you can see the speed limit signs on your little screen, right? Watch this one. Sentry mode and dash cam. Enhancements to Sentry mode and dash cam functionality improved, right? So if you don't know what Sentry mode is on a Tesla, this is why when all the people were like, oh, let's scratch swastikas into Tesla cars, and then they all got caught because Tesla cars have Sentry mode. You can literally see that it could see it's watching all the time, right? When they get out of the car. So all these people got caught because there's cameras. So but it was just updated into your car, right? 2021, right? So now, I'm not going to go through all these, but a V11 update, safety features, updates, improved collision avoidance systems. This was in 2021, such as earlier seatbelt pretensioner deployment using Tesla Vision. I have no clue what that is, but it sounds cool. Infotainment upgrades, okay, added support for new apps and audio improvements. Again, these were all free things that were just updated into people's Tesla cars, right? Smart Summon, the refinements to Smart Summon. So again, this is stuff that you got for free. 2022, charging efficiency, updates optimizing battery preconditioning for DC charging stations, improving charging speed and efficiency. So what they did in 2022 is if you were in a cold area, like batteries, if they have to be at a certain temperature. So if you were driving to the supercharging station, and you would just push a button and say, okay, I'm going to charge, and then it would see in the map how close it was to you were to the charger, and it would start warming up the battery, so it would be at the optimal temperature, or cooling the battery to the optimal temperature to make your charging go faster when you got to the actual station. Pretty cool, huh? Navigation improvements, infotainment enhancements, holiday updates. I wanted to see enable charging, camera review. I knew there was a couple of them. I'm trying to see what year it was. Grok gives me different ones each time because there were so many updates. But one of them was that you got better cold weather performance. And another one was like better braking and better safety features put in here. You see Apple Watch, for those of you watching here, there's an update for different cameras and different cars and quality improvements and Smart Summon. I wish they didn't have the adaptive lights in this one, but they did one with adaptive lighting, right? So the lights have like pickles, pixels. And so when you went around a corner, like it would change the lighting so you could see around the corner as you went around a turn. But also what it would do is you could leave it on high beams and the camera would see where the other car's like windshield was, and it would dim just the pixels in the headlight that would that would blind an oncoming car, right? But the other pixels of the headlight that aren't hitting it are still on high beams. So you can still see on high beams without you just leave your high beams on. And so you could see better without actually blinding somebody else. It's pretty freaking cool, right? Um, and all that jazz, right? I've been talking for a while, so I got 10 more minutes. So these over-the-air updates, these are things that you just get. Like, people who don't have Teslas don't understand this. You're getting all these free updates to your car that keeps getting better and better. Like when they make something, they don't go, oh, well, these are the new features for the 2020. There are no like the Tesla 2023, the Tesla 2024, the Tesla 2025. There aren't any. They made one body changes recently. They finally made a refresh of the car. But everything else, they didn't say, oh, we're gonna, if you want these updates, you have to, buy the next year's car. They just said if you have a Model 3, if you have a Tesla, you now have all this stuff for free. And they just send it out over the air update. There's no other company that does that. Right. And so it's just pretty cool. I don't think people really understand that that's something that happens. So what's going to happen then when full self-driving is finished? They're just going to send it as an over-the-air update to everyone. It's just firmware. It's just software. So then they send that out and everyone has it. Now you can take your car and put it on the Robotaxi network and your car can go make money for you. Cool is that, right? So that's what they're working on. This is what's going to happen. Now, I want to wrap up with some math and some numbers, right? My friend Andrew Yang with math. So let's do some math, quick math. So we know that they can put these over-the-air updates to everyone. Tesla hasn't even started making the Cybercab yet. The Cybercab that they're going to make, or the Model 2, or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be simplistic. I talked about how um, the Waymo cars are 130 to 150,000 dollars, probably maybe even more. So whereas a Tesla, they can make Model 3 for probably $25,000 right now, they're going to make even cheaper cars. Like the Cybercabs are only 2 seats. There's no steering wheel. There's no pedals. There's no, back seat, so it's just basically 2 seats and the monitor thing. So how cheap is that going to be? And it's going to be like, again, it's a 2-seater. It's a more compact car. It's a smaller car. They don't have to do any fancy paint on it or that kind of stuff. So they're just getting rid of steps, getting rid of processes. That's Elon's thing. The best part is no part. The best process is no process. And so those cars are going to be started to being made and put out there. So you're going to have, and so people want to have a quick ride. Most Uber rides, Lyfts are 1 to 2 people. If you need a bigger car, then you can just, you can go on Tesla app and order a Model 3 or a Model Y if you need to do that. And so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, how much profit are they going to be making with Robotaxi? I'm looking at 2030. That's my investment horizon, right? I'm like, okay, how much stock can I buy before 2030, right? And one of the things that you want to look at one of the detractors, one of the things that traditional investors, when they look at Tesla, they go, oh, it's overvalued, because they look at their PE ratio, and PE ratio is what's called price to earnings, right? So it's what the price of the stock is divided by the earnings per share, right? So as far as that goes, let's just look at the earnings. So the more earnings there are, the more so right now the price based upon the earnings per share their P ratio is like 100. I think as of this morning it was 180 when I looked. It's close to 180. So like Ford is like their P ratio is like 9, right? So what traditional investors do is they go, why would that's so overvalued? Like, and this is why you'll talk to some people and they're just like, Tesla is just overvalued. It's overvalued. It's a car company and they're comparing it to other car companies and they're like, their P ratio is ridiculous, right? It's because they're not looking at the future E, the earnings, right? The price is the price is whatever it is. The E is what is going to continue to go up, right? So the earnings, like Tesla's profit last year, I looked it up, it was right around 17. Actually, I got Grok right in front of me. All right. What was Tesla's profit in 2024? All right, let's get the actual number. Now, this is going to be profit. It's going to be everything. All right, net income for the full year of 2024 was 7.1 billion. This was a 53% decrease from 15 billion in 2023. This reflects a challenging year, a 6% drop in audit revenues. Oh my God, look at all this bad news. It's dropped. 7 billion. Is this way attributed? 600 million was attributed to the new accounting approach to the cryptocurrency. Oh, interesting. Okay, so $7 billion was their net income. Net income meaning gross income is before income before expenses, and then net income is after all the expenses, right? So 7 million, remember that. Now this is down, right? So people are like, oh, it's down. it's down from 15. That's half. That's more than half. Sell all your Tesla stock. All right, so 7 billion. Now here's the thing. Let's look at 2030. Here's my assumptions. Tell me which of my assumptions is wrong. And I'm just looking at robotaxi. I'm not looking at energy, semi trucks, batteries, supercharging stations, robots, all the other stuff that Tesla does. We're just going to look at robotaxi, right? That's it. Okay. So let's say by 2030, they have 3 million robotaxis on the road. Okay. Now, up to that point, they have to make these robotaxis. Now, they could just do over-the-air updates and have everyone's car. They could already have 3 million. They already have 3 million cars on the road in America. We're just talking about America right now. All right, we'll talk about the company worldwide. They're already there. But let's say that they have to make those 3 million cars. Tesla makes 2 million cars right now. They make like 1.7, 1.8 million cars a year right now, currently with their current factories. So now you cut back on manufacturing, and now they're just making robotaxis, which are two-seater, no car, no steering wheel, no pedals, blah, 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 blah. They could easily make 3 million cars in the next 5 years if they wanted to do this, right? Which they've already stated they do. Actually, they said they want to get to 10 million, but let's just say they get to 3 million. And let's say these are just robotaxis. Tesla doesn't sell them to anybody. Now, Tesla said that Elon has said he's going to sell these robotaxis to people and let them make some money. So let's pretend that they do that, which would be cool. It'd be great. It would be better for Tesla to keep the robotaxi and make the profit themselves, not sell it to other people. But if they want to sell it to you and you want to just buy a car for $25,000, maybe $30,000, and then put it on the robotaxi and let it just work for you, that's pretty cool, right? I would pay for that. I'll buy a couple of them, right? So let's say there's 3 million. Let's do the assumption. Now there's already 3 million out there. They're not making them, so there's no more expense to make these cars. They're already made. All right. So that's the point that we're talking. We're looking at 2030. All right. Now, let's say the cars on average in the robotaxi are going 30 miles an hour. Sometimes they're doing 50 on highways, 60 on highways, but then they're stopping and dropping people off and picking people up and blah, 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 blah. So let's say on average 30 miles an hour. At 15 hours a day, right? There's 24 hours a day. Let's say they're only working 15 hours because they got to charge, right? And then sometimes they're just maybe the just down, maybe they just don't have rides, somebody that's looking for a ride. So they might be downtime. So let's say they're only working 15 hours out of the 24 hours a day. Now, by the way, robotaxis will work on Saturday, work on Sunday. They don't need overtime. They don't need extra pay. They don't take holidays off. They don't have to take pee breaks and all that stuff, right? So we got 30 miles. So stick with me. I know I should be putting this up somewhere, but there, I'll put it up. Let's do it like this for maybe. Come on, give me a new. Whatever. I'm not gonna do it. It's we'll just do it. We'll just do it in our head, right? I'll give you the answers. 30 miles an hour, 15 hours a day, right? So 15 hours a day means that they are now going 450 miles a day. Okay, you still with me? 450 miles per car per day. And let's say they do this 350 days a year, right? So 300 in the year 2030. 350 days a year. So obviously there's 365 days, unless 2030 is a leap year, which I don't know if there is, but let's just say the other 15, 16 days are for maintenance and whatever reason that the cars couldn't operate, we'll give 15 days to get fixed or whatever like that. Right. So at 300, so we're taking 450 miles a day times 350 days a year. That is 157,500 miles. Okay, that's been driven by each robotaxi. Okay, working 15 hours a day. Now, I looked up what Uber and Lyft make per as a profit, and it wasn't exact. They said anywhere between $1 to $2. Obviously, more in like city areas and less in more um, rural areas, right? So the great thing about Tesla, what they're going to be able to do with this robotaxi is the biggest expense to Uber and Lyft is the driver, right? They have to pay the driver, and they probably pay the driver like 2/3, and then they keep 1/3 for themselves. So $1 to $2 is what they're charging. So let's say Tesla says, "Hey, we could probably charge 30 cents. And since we're selling robo taxis to other people, they want to make some money. So maybe we'll split it. So instead of making a $1 to $2 profit, we'll make 60-cent profit. We can charge people much less. We can charge them 40% less with a robo taxi. And maybe they even go lower than that. They could. But let's just say they're making 50 cents a mile. So let's say they split it in half or 25% of, in the more urban areas. So at 50 cents a mile, with 157,000 miles a year, that's $78,000. Elon Musk just tweeted. That's $78,750,000 per car in a year, right? In 2030, right? So each car is making, and so again, we're very low, 30 miles an hour, 15 hours a day. So that's 450 miles a day, 350 days a year. So that's 157,000 miles times 50 cents a mile is $78,000 per car. Right? If there's 3 million cars out driving doing this, that's $236 billion. For those of you who are looking at it, Tesla's net income for the full year of 2024 was $7 billion. So what happens when Tesla 4x's their profit, their earnings number, right? What happens to that PE ratio, right? And that's just 2020, that's just 2030. What about 2031? What about 2032? What about 2033? Maybe they do that even earlier. Maybe they do that in 2029. So what happens to their revenue? And excuse me, not even revenue, because there's no more expenses to this. That's the thing. There's no expenses. Thank you for the hearts. People sent me the hearts. I appreciate that. A lot. So there's no more expenses. So this is pure profit. It's software. Maybe there's some expense, cleaning the car, or whatever. I don't know. Whatever you can do, charging for the electricity, but Tesla doesn't even need to charge for that because they're going to put solar panels on their superchargers and charge the cars at their own stations. So people wonder, like, well, what about the car business? The revenue went down from 2023 because Elon's involved in the campaign, the Trump and the blah blah blah. I don't care. I care so little about all that nonsense. What I care about is $236 billion in profit, and that's just 1 year in 2030. And this is why I've been saying, and that's just one section of Tesla. That's just one section. That's just robotaxi. That's not car sales. That's not energy arbitrage. That's not all the batteries and that they're making. That's not solar. That's not semi trucks. That's not Roadster. That's not robots and Optimus. That's not any of that stuff. All that other stuff is more, is extra, is on top of this 230. So you want to find an investment? Now, please, somebody tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me where What one of these assumptions that I made, do you not believe it? Or do you not think that there'll be robo taxis by 2030? There's robo taxis right now. There's robo taxis right now. You could go to Austin, Texas right now and pull out your Tesla app and summon a car to you and it will come and get you. So in 5 years, you don't think that'll be a thing? They're already expanding. After 3 weeks, they expanded the area that they can go in. So what do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years? So yeah, I mean, you can be an Elon hater. You could, you could try to deny stuff. You can point to, oh, he's ruining the brand and he's crazy. I'm looking at numbers. And so tell me why this won't happen. Tell me what's going to happen that's going to stop 236 billion. Or do you think they're not going to be able to make the cars? Do you think the technology won't be? What do you think is going to? Do you think regulators maybe will get involved? I've already looked at this and I don't see it. It's investing in Tesla is such a no-brainer to me that I can't wait. I actually love the fact that Elon does stuff that hurts the stock because it makes it cheaper and it gives me more time to make more money so I can buy more. So anyway, so I finally got somebody to give me some hearts. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I will be doing these. So I'm going to be doing 4 lives every week. I'm going to be doing Monday. We're talking politics moving forward. We're not talking about is Trump good or the Democrats bad. We're not. It's called moving forward. We're not talking left or right. We're talking about how we can move forward. So that's what we do on Monday nights. Tuesday we just got finished talking Tesla on Tuesday. So next week I got some ideas of some more stuff I want to cover. Wednesday tomorrow we're going to be doing Wealth Building Wednesday, and also we talk about money. I love talking about money, my favorite subject. So we'll be talking about some strategies on that. And then Friday, I'm super excited about Friday because Friday I'm going to be doing Philosophy Friday. I think I'm going to be talking. Oh, we got a question. Look at you, Danielle Wickline. You won't talk to me in real life, but you'll talk to me on TikTok. I'll answer your question in a sec. But as far as Friday, yes, Friday we're going to be talking about, are we living in a black hole? I've been watching videos about black holes and quantum mechanics and quantum physics like crazy the last like 4 days. But we have a question from my friend Danielle. Hi, Danielle. So what happens when the first fatality happens in a robotaxi, which will happen? That will happen no matter what. Oh, that is my first. Thank you. That's my first gift, I think, ever. Yeah. All right. I got my first TikTok gift, everyone. Thank you, Danielle. Um, so what'll happen? I'm excited for that, by the way. I'm saving money for that. like I try to just not try to time the market, but here's the thing: the press already has pre-written. They are so ready for someone to die in a robotaxi. They're like super excited. Like it will be over. It will be everywhere. All right, and the stock will go down, and I will buy as much as I possibly can. So I'm waiting for that because here's the thing, and you might not have been on earlier. For those of you who weren't on earlier, humans suck at driving. If you go back all the way to like the 1970s, the lowest year of fatalities. By the way, I talk about fatalities. I'm talking about fatalities. I'm not talking about all the accidents that happen, just pure accidents. Let me see. I got Grok up right now. I'm doing this on YouTube Live as well, by the way. How many people die in car accidents in the USA every year? Come on, Grok, give me some info. I love that Grok actually sometimes I'll type in something wrong and they'll be like, You meant this. And I'm like, you're right, Grok, I did. Um, all right, 2020, 38,000 people died in car accidents. In 2021, 42.9, so almost 43,000 people died. In 2022, 42,000 fatalities. 2023, 41,000 people. 2024, 40,000, 39,000 people died. Hey, nice job, 2024, with less people. So we allow 40,000 people. By the way, if I go back like to the 1970s, it's always around 40,000 people die every single year. And we just like, oh, okay. Yeah. No big deal. So to answer your question, when someone does die, and by the way, it doesn't matter if it's a Tesla's fault or not. The Tesla literally might be just sitting at a red light and somebody like or going through a green light and somebody blows the red light and just slams into the Tesla and somebody dies. It'll be Tesla's fault. It'll be like Tesla major fatality in a Tesla robo taxi. And no one will read the article that drunk driver slammed into a robo taxi. It'll just be Tesla. But anyway, it's going to happen. So, but is it going to be better than 40? Like, we don't get better. We go from 38,000 to 42 to 42 to 42 to 41 to 39. Like, we aren't getting better at driving. We got to do something, right? And so again, yes, the news will be Tesla, blah blah blah. People die. Person dies in Tesla robotaxi. Blah blah blah. It will be big news. The stock will tank, and I will buy as much as I possibly can because there won't be 40,000 people dying every year once this happens. Will somebody die? Yes. It'll be similar to what the narrative used to be on Tesla with the car fires. Tesla's cars catch on fire. Fire, fire, fire. There's fires. I remember Elon coming out finally getting sick of like the news just making up fires and saying, look, our car's not fireproof. We had 4 car fires last year and it was all over the news, and each car was going over 100 miles per hour and slammed into a concrete wall or a concrete this or into a building, and all 4 people were safe and got out of the car and survived the accident, and then the car caught on fire. Right? But yet there's 50,000 ICE vehicle cars, internal combustion energy, which is gas cars, that catch on fire every year, and there's no news about it, right? Because it doesn't catch headlines, right? If someone dies in a BMW, they don't go 4 deaths in a BMW. They just go 4 people die in a car accident. Where when it's a Tesla, it's like 4 people fiery death in a Tesla, right? Because Tesla doesn't advertise. This can take me on a whole another rant, but because Tesla spends no money on advertising, you've never seen a Tesla advertisement in a paper. You've never seen a Tesla advertisement on TV, and so the media makes money from advertising. So inadvertently, if they hurt Tesla, they help. Because here's what happens: Ford and GM and other auto manufacturers that spend billions of dollars, 5, 6, $7 billion a year on advertising. Well, if they start doing bad, guess what's the first thing they're going to cut? They're going to cut marketing. They cut marketing budgets. That's the first thing they cut. And who gets the marketing budget? The media. So the media understands they don't need to have Ford or GM call them and say, hey, run some bad anti-Tesla stories. No, they just go, they go, if it's a Tesla, it's going to get eyeballs because people want to see Tesla, whether it's positive or negative. They want to see that name. So we're going to run that. And then also, if we hurt Tesla and we help the other ones who actually spend money advertising versus the company that doesn't spend money advertising, well, we're going to root for the companies that are giving us money. So that's why there's always negative Tesla ads constantly, even when they're not true. And there's never any retractions to these things. So my answer to your wonderful question, oh, good night. I'll call you. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I have no problem calling. But thank you for being my first gifter, and I hope you have a great night. And I hope your daughters are great. So thanks for stopping in and saying hello. I'm going to be doing this every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 o'clock. I will be live for an hour or an hour and a half. I'm at an hour and 15 right now, 10 o'clock p.m. So feel free to jump in. But thank you again for visiting my live. Um, but yeah, so the answer to the question is, yeah, there will be somebody that dies. It will be all over the news. People will be talking about it. The stock will go down, and that's when you should buy in. Um, that's when I will be buying in, and that's how it goes. You want to look for bad news to you want to look for bad news. If you want to, you should never buy by. Oh, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Wealth building Wednesdays tomorrow, but yeah, you don't buy on green days. Today was a green day for Tesla, so we didn't buy any Tesla stock. Right? Even when things go up, that's not when you buy. You buy low and sell high. Right? We'll talk about this more tomorrow. Cool. As far as it goes, I think that's it. I think we're gonna wrap up Tesla Tuesdays. It's 11:16. Please, by the way, I'm updating the website, brightfutureadvocates.com. We want everyone to have a bright future. Tomorrow we'll be doing Wealth Building Wednesday, where I'll be talking about some wealth building strategies and ideas about money. You know, one of my strategies is buy a lot of Tesla stock, but just some other basic stuff as far as wealth building goes. And yeah, I appreciate everyone here. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate if you're listening on Spotify. And yeah, come and join the Bright Futures. Check out the Patreon. I'm going to start making actual more videos. Look, the more people that subscribe and listen and chip in, the more I will. My absolute goal is to eventually do this full time. More people. I will start doing interviews. I'm gonna update this. My camera is not really that pretty. I'm not that pretty. Whatever. It's cool. Thanks for listening. And I want everyone to have a bright future and have a great evening. I'll talk to you tomorrow, mañana. All right, that's that music. Let's end the live.